Before we begin, just a quick disclaimer. You might encounter strong language. Oops. We also want to be clear that the things we say are our opinions and in should no way be taken as medical health or dietary advice. We also are aware that we have certain privileged experiences and therefore we are not able to be representative. And we don't even aim to be representative of all the things that people have lived and felt that we have not.
I'm fat, and I don't think that's the reason I have a cold. So,
I'm fat and I'm not considering bariatric surgery. So,
damn straight, man, that shit is crazy. I'm fat, and I think the MRI machine should be big enough for my body. So,
totally. I'm fat and I love how my body works. So,
yeah, man, it's amazing. All bodies are amazing. All bodies are good bodies. I'm fat, and I deserve a diagnosis of my symptoms, not my body. So,
God, I swear. I'm fat and I do not see any reason why I need to weigh myself at the doctor's. So,
yeah, I mean, it's just nonsense. Anyway, welcome to Fatso, the podcast where we talk about the joys and sorrows of being fat women in India. I'm Ameya.
And I'm Pallavi. We continue with our mini-series, and today we're going to talk about navigating the minefield that is doctors and health services.
Ha! 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 I could rant about this forever. I could do a whole season of healthcare rants, but I will spare you all because, I mean, I know ranting is fun, but like within reason, right? Everything in moderation. So, right, let's start with the lowest hanging fruit, which is that anything that is wrong with a fat person is caused by their fat. Obviously, no? If you have a UTI, it's because you're fat. If you have tonsillitis, it's because you're fat. If you have cancer, it's because you're fat. If you have a degenerative eye disease, it's because you're fat. If you have an autoimmune disease, it's because you're fat. If you twisted your ankle, it's because you're fat. If you have an upset tummy, it's because you're fat. Anything under the sun, if your hair is falling, it's because you're fat. If your skin is getting patches, it's because you're fat. Everything in the world is be cured if we would all just stop being fat. Fuck you! It's so irritating. My God. Like, you know, the stories about all those women who are in crazy amounts of pain and they just keep getting sent back by the doctor saying, no, just lose weight. And then, you know, like 6 months later, they died because they had this humongous multi-organ tumor. Like, what the fuck? And, you know, and it's just so frustrating because even though you know that, you know, we are educated people, we have privilege, we live in a world with medical science, and yay, we don't have to die from a cut anymore, and but that's probably coming with all the antibiotic resistance. But the point is, we live in a world where we have all these tools, and yet these tools are like regularly, systematically denied to fat people, and what's worse is the way that you're shamed when you enter the space of health. The way that you're shamed by every single person, friends, family, doctors, healthcare workers in any shape or form, they will always shame you a little bit. It's just, why would you even go there? Right? You know you're really sick. Like tomorrow, if I have COVID symptoms, I'm going to think 15 times before going to see a doctor. Because I know what they're going to tell me. Lose weight. And I'm like, really? Right now, this second? Okay, let me just snap my fingers and do that. Because why didn't I think of that? And the way they tell you lose weight, I'm like, really? Oh my God, what a brilliant instantaneous solution to my acute bacterial infection. You fucking idiot. Like, God, and I'm somebody who is interested in science, who has enough people who work in all of this. My sister's an immunologist. So I have enough general awareness of this and I'm able to educate myself on this so I can stand up and be like, go to hell. But most people are not like that. We're all completely trained and socialized to think of doctors like some sort of prophet of God where do not ask the prophet questions. Just do what he says. The patriarch. What is a doctor? It's a freaking patriarch again because a doctor has to be a man anyway when you default to it. But before I go off into that tangent rant, this constant thing. Oh, everything is wrong because you're fat. You're going to die because you're fat. Newsflash, everyone is going to die, you idiots. Every single person is going to die. There is a one thing I can guarantee you, whoever you are, whatever you do, Elon Musk, you are all going to die because that is what we do. It's the circle of life and death. It's a circle because you have to die. And going on and on with this scaremongering and this horrifyingness with fat people that your fatness is going to kill you. Bro, your thinness could kill you too. Like your overarching desire to climb mountains mean you may get swept away in an avalanche. And is anyone going to say that, oh, yeah, you know what, it's your dangerous hobby that killed you? No, they're going to say, what a tragedy that this fit person was climbing a mountain and a bunch of snow fell on them. Like, this is the hypocrisy that drives me nuts because even if every single indicator you want to test me for is perfect, but you're fat, it will happen. They will get worse in the future. So before they get worse, lose weight. And I'm like, you told me that my fatness makes me sick, but I'm not sick. So you're saying that my fatness will make me sick with absolutely zero evidence of this actually happening. So I need to lose weight. Because you are scared of fatness? Like, what is this? You know, it's a matter of time for everyone. With the kind of lives we live, with the kind of nutrition we have, everyone is going to end up with a lifestyle disease. You may get it at 40, you may get it at 90. But it's coming, bro. It's coming. So, can we all just take fatness out of this and treat people for the illnesses they have? Oh, and then when it comes to hormones, of course. Do you have a thyroid problem? Do you have a thyroid problem? Even better. Somebody commented on Instagram today, oh, my father's always telling me if you don't lose weight, you will get a thyroid problem. Uncle, that's not how the thyroid works. Please, uncle, thoda WhatsApp University, go and ask. Huh? You'll get more misinformation from there. But it's as ridiculous as that. Women, are you telling me thin women never have hormonal problems? My entire life, people would be like, oh, your PCOD will be cured if you lose weight. And I'm like, my skinny ass friend who never puts on any weight, has PCOD as bad as me. Please explain that. If fat is the reason why I have PCOD. It's actually the other way around, you idiot. It's a symptom. Gah! Okay. Stopping.
Well, the thing is, when I was writing this episode, I realized the whole episode for me is going to be a rant.
Yay!
It is one subject that gets my blood boiling. And I mean, apart from everything that you've said, which is my experience like verbatim, almost, despite the fact that we've had so many different experiences otherwise, right? But in this area of life, it's like, oh my God, like, did you read my mind? Yeah? And along with that, what makes me really angry is the fact that this is my body. And I know so little about it. It's inconceivable to me that this is not part of education. How is it that understanding the body, getting in touch with it, observing it, managing it based on that observation, how is such a basic survival need not something we get educated and examined on? Like, how does it matter what crops grow in which state of India, at least today when we have Google, and you don't tell me how it is that I need to understand my body? You know, it's so fucked up. It's so fucked up. We're so focused on the external. I was told at 13 that I needed to get a wax and shit. So, you know, I was told about things about my external body that would impact the world. But bloody hell, did anyone tell me and sit me down and help me understand the value of observing my actual shit, or observing my energy levels, or the impact of my emotions on those energy levels, or what food I ate and therefore what energy I had? Such simple things. You know, such basic things that I could have used to monitor my body. And what does that do? And why does it make me so angry? It's because not having this basic mechanism induces so much fear. It makes puppets out of us, with the focus of control being that something which is a fundamental right for me to have agency on and make decisions about. That focus of control is no longer within me because I know shit about it, right? And that focus of control is now with somebody else. And sure, if something goes wrong and you need to fix it, you need an expert. Fair enough. So it's not like I have a problem with the whole medical system, right? But the only person then whom I can go to, right, to tell me how my body functions, and ideally, that person should be telling me how to prevent something going terribly wrong, right? I'm not talking about fixing, right? Now, that person is someone who's sitting in a clinic in a clinical manner, which means unemotional, okay? Supposedly has spent loads of money and years of studying, and suddenly that person becomes the boss of my living experience, right? And I would assume then that this person also has a certain code of ethics, also has a certain code of conduct, and also has basic humanity, right? But what do I then find out? In a book, that too. I eventually find the truth and figure out in a book based on research that someone has taken the trouble to do, thank God for them. I figure out after fucking 35 years of my life that I can chill. I'm not defective. I'm not wrong. I'm not going to blow up unexpectedly while walking down the street or climbing stairs, so on and so forth. I mean, can I even convey the very mixed up emotions I would have felt in that moment? Like extreme rage for my lived experience till then, and extreme joy and relief at the fact that, okay, finally I can stop waking up with my heart palpitating about the fact that I'm fat and may have a heart attack today. Like maybe today is the day, when my whole body stops working because everybody's told me it will stop working because I'm fat. Then, can I trust that community? Can I like it? No way, right? Because, I mean, shouldn't these takers of the Hippocratic oath be the ones to tell me that I'm okay? Shouldn't they be the ones and not a book? I mean, not that I have a problem with the book, but I mean, just the hypocrisy in all of this is infuriating. And what is more sucky is the fact that the lack of knowledge is perpetuated in order to instigate that fear, because it's a profitable thing for industries like healthcare, insurance, medical equipment. I severely object to this. As an individual, I really do expect to have agency over my body. And if I have to go somewhere to get it fixed, I expect to encounter actual knowledge and fucking basic truth. I mean, how does such unfairness even exist? How? Okay, anyways, I better take a breath.
Yes.
I'll let you
Well
continue.
done. I shouldn't have bothered to rant at all in this episode. No, but the thing is, you were saying this thing about dropping dead of a heart attack, and I was thinking back about the times you hear about someone dropping dead of a heart attack, and you'll be like, oh my god, they were only 45, and yet somehow never have you heard anyone say, oh my god, yeah, they were fat, no, that's why they dropped dead at 45. No, it's always like, oh my god, they dropped dead at 45, they were perfectly young and fit. What about all those fat people who are dying early of heart attacks because of their fatness? Do we never hear about them? Is this like some trade secret in the whole world?
No, and not just that, Maya. I personally know of 3 people between the ages of 32 and 40 who have dropped dead of a heart attack on the tennis court in the middle of a game. I swear to God, I know 3 people.
Okay, don't play tennis.
No, it's not about that. I mean, one was tennis, one was badminton, and one was one more place. But the point is that, these things happen. It's like they always say, right? Tell me a disease that does not happen to a thin person, and I will believe that it only happens to fat people.
Absolutely. I mean, so I have literally just come back from seeing a chiropractor for my knee. Can you hear me cringing in my voice when I say that? But this chiropractor is the first person who's actually given me a diagnosis. So in terms of my experience with the medical system and all of this, I'm just going to tell you effectively the story of my knee, right? Back in 2017, I was at a nightclub in Spain, and I came out of the nightclub. I wasn't drunk. I was just going home because I was sleepy. And they have these weird little posts on the sidewalk that stop you from taking your scooters on the sidewalk, right? So I didn't see one of those. It was dark, and I fell over it. And I landed bang on my left knee. And I was in excruciating pain. And I basically got a cab and I went home. And I was in a lot of pain for the next couple of days. I had like bruising all down my leg. It was hugely swollen. And I was super worried because, oh my God, fat person fell down, knee. Oh God, the world is going to end. And luckily I had health insurance and they have good healthcare system, and I went and I got x-rays and I saw a trauma specialist, and everyone thought I was insane, but it was fine. Then in 2019, I was in Italy at a friend's wedding, and again I slipped on a very, very polished floor with a carpet on it. Don't do that. If you polish your floor, don't polish your floor. But if you polish your floor, don't put a slippery carpet on it. And I fell down again on that same knee, and once more it was really swollen. I was super worried. I was so worried, I thought I had this weird disease where which I have been trying to Google and find the name of it for like months now, and I can't. But it's a weird disease where basically your knee, all the blood is stopped and like everything is going to die and you'll get gangrene and shit. And I was freaking out, and I went and I saw an orthopedist, and he laughed at me, and which I needed. And he said, if you had monkey punch, if you had, which is what I call it, if you had monkey punch, then we'd have had to cut off your leg a long time ago, so don't worry about it. But this is the level of fear that you have as a fat person, right? So anyway, I've been working out for 3 years with Akhilesh, and I've been very careful of my knees, and I've, touch wood, never had a knee problem in my life, right? Even though I have all this terrible weight that is so terrible. And then suddenly in November of last year, we were doing some yoga, and I started getting this weird, like it was very painful when I folded my leg in on the inside of my knee. And I was like trying my hardest to explain this to people. I did all the physiotherapy for quadriceps and knee problems and knee extensions. And I went and saw the orthopedist, and he made me get an x-ray and blah, 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 and everything. And he was just like, no, you don't seem to have anything. Well, you have the beginnings of osteoarthritis. You should get bariatric surgery. And I'm like, that's not what I came to you for, but okay. Since you are not horribly fat phobic, I will take it, but I don't want to talk about this. And then it just went on, it got worse and worse, it was cold, we were fermenting it, we were trying this, we were trying that, nothing helped. Finally went and got an MRI. MRI showed, guess what? My knee is fine, bitches. I in fact told the doctor that. I was like, please tell me whether or not you were surprised by the state of my knee. He's like, yeah, I expected it to be much worse. I said, fine. Thank you for admitting that. But that's just it. It was fine. I had swelling and fluid retention, but nowhere near the place it was hurting. And like, it was so bizarre. Some days I'd be walking fine. Some days I'd be hobbling and unable to do a thing. And it was just like, I was like, I'm so sick of this shit. So finally I ended up going to, he gave me a whole new course of medication. Nothing changed. There was no predictability to my ability to use my knee. Finally, I decided to go to a GP. I was like, let's start at the bottom. It's a basic investigations. Madam looks at me and says, you have to lose weight. That's the only solution. And I wanted to be like, yeah, because I put on weight in the last 5 weeks. No, all of this weight has come in the last 5 weeks. That's why suddenly my knee's fallen sick. That's obviously the connection there, right? Suddenly one morning I woke up with 60 extra kilos on my body, so my knee's given out. That's the and the other knee, of course, is made of titanium, so nothing's happened to that knee. That knee's fine. I got so mad. And she went on and on about this shit, and I was like politely trying to, then I told her, look, I'm sorry, I don't fetishize eating and exercise like that. I don't do that. It's not good for my mental health. So I'm not going to do that. But she said, okay, you know, I had like sciatica pains and all. She said, that's because there's so much swelling that your nerve is getting compressed. So she gave me stuff to take the swelling down. The swelling is gone down, the nerve pain is gone. But the original fucking pain is still there. I was going mad with this, right? So a friend of mine said, you know, go see this chiropractor of mine. And I was like, ugh, chiropractor. And she's like, don't be such a brat. Just go and see him. So I went and I saw him. And that's when I discovered that the chiropractor costs more than the orthopedist at Max Hospital. Just FYI. So that's a medical career to explore for those who are considering this. Anyway, so I go there and I'm like fully ready to be like, fuck you, it's not the fat. And he was just so nice. He read every piece of paper I gave him. He looked at every scan. He asked me questions and he said, tell me what happened. I showed him all the things. I explained the whole thing to him. And I said, look, she said this stuff about fat. He said, yeah, I am also very torn when it comes to fat. Because if you suddenly get this injury, why didn't you get it on the other leg? Like, it's not like you suddenly put on the weight. So it doesn't make sense to me as a cause for an injury. Osteoarthritis is a different thing, but this is not osteoarthritis. This is a muscle injury. So he then came up with a prediction after listening to me. He said, I think this is what your problem is. And then he put me down on the examination table and then gave me one jab, exactly where it hurts. So I screamed. And he was like, see, I was right. Then he did more examination, blah, blah, blah. And he told me, I have a treatment for you and it'll work. And I can't tell you, it was shocking to be in a place where the doctor says, look, whatever the cause of your injury, I cannot treat you and your injury in a different way from how I treat that injury on another person. And I was like, I'm going to fight. Then it turns out, of course, he studied in Canada. I'm like, okay. But that's just it. You know, that the idea of how you work these things. And he said it's so deeply it's so deeply entrenched in all our minds and the medical world as well, that this is how you do it. You immediately look at fat as the cause. So I mean, that's why it happens. It doesn't mean it's okay, but that is why it happens. So I actually ended up having a really great experience with this doctor, and he's getting a lot of money out of me now, and hopefully I'll be fine in 8 weeks, back to normal. Because let me tell you, it's super frustrating for someone who has achieved a level of fitness that I've never had in my life before to not be able to freaking stretch my knees while leaning on the wall because I can't balance on one leg. It's ridiculous. And Pallavi has seen me mutter and curse about this all the time. My beloved asanas I can't do anymore. And I'm just like, what is this? It's so frustrating. But to actually have a doctor who's interested in diagnosing my problem and not just like saying, aha, I am Sherlock Holmes. There is a boot print on the floor, therefore you're fat and that's the problem. Like, dude.
Thank God you found this person, because I'm still mad. And I'm still mad because that's my personal experience, right? Being shamed on the doctor scale when I was 3 years old. Feeling crushed at 5 that I have to take steroids for my asthma. I mean, that should have been crushing enough, but no. There was also this doom and gloom in the doctor's office in the conversation between my mother and the doctor that, oh, this will make her even fatter. You'll have to just deal with that. You can't help it. I mean, I should have been happy I'm getting treatment for asthma, right? I shouldn't have been made to feel worse, but I did. It made me even fatter and wronger than I already am. I mean, one of the first things I felt when I was 8 years old and was cured of my asthma was not that, yay, I'm cured of my asthma, that whatever bronchitis that children have, but it was like, I don't have to take those steroids anymore. Maybe I will lose weight. And everything from scraped knees while I was playing to being ill at all was on account of my weight, I mean, I hated the fact that I lied about PCOS to my husband when I was marrying him, because my mother, the gynecologist, everybody told me, do not tell him. And my mom even said to me that probably the reason your previous relationship didn't work out is because you were honest with him about the fact that you had PCOD and may not be able to have children. I mean, at that time PCOD was like, oh, you won't be able to have children, or it'll be difficult. Right?
And I mean, you were married at what, 24?
I was 23 was when I was told to lie, basically.
And
about
like,
this.
Broseph, the PCOD problem only kicks in your late 20s if it kicks in.
Anyway, so, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. The way it has screwed up my life, I cannot even begin to make peace with that, right? Because everyone just assumed they could shame me, berate me, make me feel less, give me unsolicited advice, reject me, dismiss me, and in some cases even fucking control me because I'm fat. Because concern, we love you. What if something happens to you? So for example, and okay, forget that was bad enough as it was, but at some point I got over it. And then going to the doctor because I'm immensely uncomfortable. I have fever, I cannot eat, I'm feeling pukey, all symptoms of dengue fever, and being advised to cut up my stomach. What will happen then? Fucking mosquitoes will stop existing for me, huh? I won't need Odomos anymore, right? Because my stomach is cut, so mosquitoes won't bite me. I mean, all of these things, I genuinely don't want to go to a doctor. And that's why I'm obsessed about prevention. You've seen me. I have a little pain and I'm like, okay, my body's hurting. I need to do something to get, for my body to heal. Because I'm constantly monitoring my body's comfort or discomfort. I don't want to be in a situation where I have to interact with the medical community. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing per se. I have learned a lot. I continue to learn. I love the relationship I now have with my body. But when I look back at this experience with the medical community, it's abusive. And the worst is it has taken me, well, really this love for my body has started after 40 when I, started doing a whole lot more and monitoring my body a lot more. But then I have cursed and hated and wanted to cut and maim my beautiful, amazing, intelligent, magical, strong body, in which I have done so much, and not only have I hated it, I have let others hurt it. Because of their advice, because I believed those assholes and I thought they knew what they were saying until I realized they fucking don't. Or even worse. And okay, maybe this is conspiracy theory, but someone somewhere does know the truth, does know this whole thing, has seen the research, and has knowingly suppressed the information because it suited them. It's a crime. I don't like to wish ill, but this is a crime, and I cannot help but want such people to be punished, because there are millions on the planet that are being punished because of this. So, yeah, I mean, that's my experience. Everything being because of my weight, and having to bring these doctors back to focus on the issue and not the weight.
I swear.
And I mean, just this obsession with thin is healthy, all the disgusting diets have been on, the manic exercising. I mean, I have to now educate them that you jerks, that is the reason why my body chooses to be fat now, because there's a concept of set weight point. It wants to be larger and padded because it is trying to protect itself against your advice, which is not even backed scientifically anymore. And then, of course, the personal experience went on to having to unlearn all the shit, which is hard. Having to stand up for what I believe. Anyway, I will talk more about that when we talk about the healing, but let's go to your healing first.
All right,
Maybe
let
I've
us
stopped
heal.
ranting now.
Heal the fatsos, make it a better place for you and for me, and it works. Anyway, first step for me was just refusing to believe that fat was the cause of everything. It's like my bullshit meter was just like And I have absolutely no explanation for why. I'm not saying I'm some savant or something, but I'm a fairly logical person, and I'm fairly empirically trained to think empirically, which comes with its downsides. But it's what I've been taught. Like, I want to see evidence. Please show me the connection. Show me the connect. But so I would just be like, no, sorry, this doesn't add up. Nope, show me. And then the evidence of my own regular physicals would show me that I'm fine. My hormones are fine. My levels are fine. My cholesterol is fine. I could see myself. I was stronger. I was fitter than many of my peers. So I was just like, I'm sorry, I just don't buy your logic. I mean, sure, I can't, speed race something or climb some mountain or something like that. Sure, maybe. But fundamentally speaking, at the end of the day, I can do all the things I need to do. I actually have better stamina, no strength and flexibility than all these lovely skinny people. So what? I don't buy your bullshit. So then I was just like, I don't want to go to the doctor. However, I am also the other side of this pragmatic, scientific, empirical person. Means that when I'm sick, I need to go to the correct person and ask for help. Judy will say it's all the Saturn in my chart. I need to go to the authority and get the authority to give me the approval, right? So... And then if I was sick, I'm like, it's stupid to be sick and continue to be sick when you can quickly get treated for this stuff, right? So, of course, I had my stock of self-treatment stuff and all. Yeah. But what I started doing was pushing back against doctors. When they say it's fat, I'm like, please explain to me, how is it fat? What is a fat? Explain. Tell me. Draw me a picture. Tell me what to Google and look up papers. Tell me. Which, of course, annoys the fuck out of them. But hey, that's a great way to filter out a bad doctor, right? Then, of course, we started doing the podcast. And with the podcast came really most of my learning about all of this. Like my active, conscious learning about all of this. Like health at every size, the obesity code, the fat liberation word. Now I just turn on and tell people, oh, really? I'm unfit. Come on, arm wrestle with me. Let's do squats. Who can do more squats? I'll tell you what. I'll get 60 kg weights tied on your body. Chal, let's see who runs faster. Come, let's see who runs faster. Surprise, surprise. My healing was ragey.
Yeah, baby. Awesome. Healing for me, and I must tell this story, happened actually in 2005, 2006 already. So healing my relationship with my body and figuring out that there's a lot of bullshit in this world of health, right? And doctors. So what used to happen then was I used to get these severe backaches, and they used to be so bad I would be unable to get out of bed for like 3-4 days. And once I even got hospitalized. And then my in-laws, my husband, my doctor, everyone made me feel awful about it, told me I was in for a slip disc if I didn't mend my ways, blah, blah, blah. Doctor scared me about traction and how one can be on traction for a month and how painful it is, and etc., etc. Anyway, I got pretty mad at that doctor, and I sort of, when I was okay, I kind of did a huffy walk out of his clinic because I was just, I was like, dude, I have lifted something heavy. I am not in pain because I am heavy. There is a difference. Anyway.
Yeah.
Just after
That's a big one.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, just after that, I had to travel to Bangalore for some campus recruitments, and I was staying with Swati, who lived there with her in-laws and parents, and I had this terrible backache again, and I was bedridden, and it was so embarrassing because I had to leave, and plus I felt terrible imposing on her, her in-laws and her husband and all of that. I mean, she was a darling, but I felt awful. And I remember she was speaking to the doctor in front of me, and I said, Swati, tell her I'm a fat person because, the medication and the treatment changes based on that. You see how internalized that was? Like how much I believed in it at that time. And she just looked at me and she shushed me, and she continued talking to the doctor. And he said, give her a painkiller and give her an anti-acidity. He prescribed it to me, and he says in 3 doses she'll be fine. And it was miraculous. How? Without any hospitalization, without nothing. I was fine. And I came back home and I started researching this whole thing, and I realized that acidity and dehydration is a huge cause of muscle spasms and pain in the body that we are not even aware of. So actually, a lot of times when I feel pain, I actually drink lots of water and have like a Pantocid or something like that, and it helps. When I did that research, I said, okay, so what I need to work on is having acidity, right? And I started looking at the food I was eating. I started changing certain things in my eating patterns. Like I would try and eat before 7. Or if I had to eat after 7, I would eat more salad. Or I just did a lot of things that helped me avoid acidity. And of course, water and, nimbu pani with a little salt and, just basically dealing with the acidity and dehydration. And my body responded like magic. I used to say that I am a person who has a cold every 3 months. I stopped having that. I would still get the flu maybe once a year during season change or something like that. But my hay allergy, which every morning I would get up and I would say, oh, I have to sneeze 10 times, otherwise my morning doesn't begin. That completely vanished. I mean, it was shocking. The effect, just this whole understanding of food, and what I was eating, not eating, the impact it had on my body, it was incredible. And look, everything I read, I did not apply. Everything I read did not apply to me either. But it was all about experimenting and monitoring and seeing the effect that certain things had on my body. Then I started helping other people. So like my husband would say, and then I would say, would you like to try this? And he'd be okay. Or my maid would come with something. Do you know that one day my maid, who was the girl who was working for me, who was 25 years old, came to me and said, Didi, my chest hurts. And I went to the doctor and he told me I have a heart condition. I said, are you crazy? So I said, I immediately took her to my doctor and I said, doctor, please, could you look at these reports? Like, I think she just has a case of severe acidity. What do you think? He says, of course, there's nothing wrong with her. So, stuff like that. So it just sort of made me very convinced that there is a relationship that we are not aware of, that we're not educated on, that doctors don't talk to us about because they themselves may not be educated about it, etc., etc. And eventually, now I'm not going to go back to, the rest of my journey, which is John Gabriel and Lindo Bacon and Jason Fung. And, I've just said it so many times over, but I'd like to mention the authors once more in case someone wants to read. But the reason I talk about building this relationship with my body over the years is because that is what has given me the confidence when I meet a doctor. Because whatever they may say, they cannot refute my lived experience, right? So I can call out their bullshit because I have lived that experience. And I therefore talk to them and discuss things with them from a place of speaking the truth, not just theory and research. Because I don't feel that confident with, I haven't done that research myself. I've read it and God knows how much I remember of it. But still, this is just me, right? I need to have that lived experience as well. And just having the conversations with doctors from that space in itself has been a healing experience then. Because of course, there were still docs who were dicks. But at the end of the day, I have met a lot more people who are open, who are willing to talk about this, and who turn out not to be so fatphobic at all. So that is my healing. And I don't now avoid going to a doctor. I still would like to see if I can deal with my own body myself. But now it's not like I'm scared of going to the doctor. It's just, okay, it's when it becomes practical, that's when I go for it.
That's an important part of healing. So, that's the thing. That's in some ways, it's some kind of true healing, as it were. Right. So, let's look at some of the things that we've learned that you guys might find helpful when you're trying to deal with the medical establishment. With me, I would say the first thing is just stop drinking the Kool-Aid. Stop buying the story just because it comes from a doctor. This does not mean question every doctor and argue with them and say mere mausi ke chacha ke something or whatever. No. It just means just because doctor says this is the cause, just do a quick Google. Right there in the chiropractor's office when he said, I'm going to prescribe shockwave therapy to you. I said, okay. And then he went out to talk to his assistant and I quickly Googled shockwave therapy, hamstring tendon, and 50 papers showed up saying, superb treatment. I'm like, all right, let's do this. That's it, right? So if someone says your problem is because of being fat, ask them to explain how. Just be like, how is my fat doing this? And then be like, so this never happens to thin people? And the answer to that will obviously be no, of course it happens to thin people. Then you say, then why is my fat causing this? What is the connection? You have to push and probe. You have to ask for information. And you can tell when people are kind of just covering their butt and they're on shaky ground, really. Second piece of advice is to read stuff, whether it's books like Lindo's book or Jason Fung's book. But this is also not doom scrolling spirals, because if you go online and search for anything to do with health or fitness and weight, you'll go into the obesity apocalypse is coming, you're all going to die. So don't doom scroll into that shit. Read smartly, read health at every size. Please read health at every size. I'm begging you, read health at every size, okay? Especially before you go to a doctor. And before you go to a doctor, do some research about the thing you're going for. Look for information that contradicts the accepted narrative, right? It's there. And when you find it, store it up. You don't have to walk in and slap it on the table and be like, I did my research, this is what I have. No, obviously not. Sometimes you do it and then the doctor laughs at you when you realize what a lunatic you are. But have that information in your head. Have a place of, don't be a blank slate when you walk in, so that you can push back, you can make a judgment call on these things, right? And ask questions. Ask questions of other people. Ask questions of a fat community. Social media, share your own experiences. Social media is great, but it's also a hellhole of fat shaming, right? So try and find fat-safe communities like ours. Not that we're experts or something, but it's always important to know if your experience is shared or if it is truly unique. And when you find that it's shared, you'll always find yourself feeling more reassured. And that's how you'll also find out about non-fat-phobic doctors, right? Because somebody messaged us on Instagram the other day asking about an endocrinologist. And I said, look, I don't know an endocrinologist, but I have a great gynec, right? And it's that kind of stuff that after all this time, we've all found the doctors who, some of us have found doctors who don't torture us and torment us with all of this. So we're like, I can give you this number. This is a safe number. But also, don't be afraid to walk away from a doctor who's an asshole. Just because they're a doctor doesn't mean they get to be an asshole, right? Don't be afraid to say, no, I don't need to take my weight. If you're asking me to take my weight, please explain to me how it factors into what you're doing. You're saying it depends on dosage. Please tell me what the dosage is per kilo. Ask these questions, right? Any good doctor who legitimately wants to cure you will not resist when you ask to understand how and why your fat is or is not relevant. Over to you, P.
Absolutely. And I think I'm only going to summarize in bullet points what you said, which is step number 1, educate yourself. Read, research, learn. Research is my favorite word in this season, but really just do it. Step number 2 is actually do what you are learning about. You have to experiment. It's really hard and it's really scary to deal with one's compulsions, whether it's around food or exercise or love or finance or whatever it is, but you've just got to do the work. And this whole thing around fat and, changing the way you look at it, changing the way you look at your body, all of this, it's just, after the research, after understanding it, you've just got to do it. Get help if you need one, a therapist, a coach, a professional who's aligned with your values, but definitely take that action and see what happens for you. It's that lived experience is important. Step number 3 for me is always community, because it is important to talk to other people, hear their points of view. And step number 4 is do not hesitate to talk to your medical practitioner once you're reasonably comfortable, because it is scary. And of course, you will have to walk away. You will find dicks parading as docs, but you will also find gems who are quite valuable and who will respect and support you. And that validation is immense and it is needed. So I have tried to be quick and summarize.
Good job. Don't know if you guys can hear Uggsy in the background wailing at the tragic injustice of not being allowed in our rooms right now because we're recording. But apologies if you can. Anyway, that's a good note on which to end this episode.
Mm-hmm.
The wailing.
The wail. I want better doctors. I want fat to be seen the way it is, not as unhealthy. Please.
Okay, guys, as always, thank you so much for listening. And you can find us on, Gmail, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Substack using Fatso Podcast. We also write our blog on Medium, which you may or may not remember. It's medium.com/fat-so. There's a website, fatsopodcast.com. It's got all the shit on there, so you can just go there as your main reference. Of course, I know you guys already follow us everywhere, don't ya? As always, we recorded in one undisclosed location in Delhi NCR. I will edit. Suraj took our first batch of photos. Yash made our logo. And Anant made our music. Thanks for listening.